Hello guys, and welcome to the afternoon session of webinar number 8. Today this is about basic knowledge about the support generator for NetFab. My name is Robert.
My name is Robin.
And let's take a closer look to the agenda for today's webinar. Well, let's see what we got here. So first of all, you might ask, why do we have to use a support generator in NetFab? We already have a couple of support scripts available. Why do I have to adjust things manually? So we will discuss this in the first topic. The second would be how do I gain access to the support generator in NetFab? And the third one would be how to add or adjust supports in the support generator. And as always, there's a small Q&A session at the end. But please feel free to put all your questions in the chat function of Teams. So we will see them and we'll answer them after each corresponding section. As always, if there's something bigger coming up, we will discuss this at the end of the webinar, where we have a little bit more time to discuss these things. All right, so I think we can just start right away with the adjustment, or why we have to adjust this manually.
Okay, so as Robert said, first question most likely is, why do I have to adjust? So mainly there are two reasons for this. So first of all, your design is not properly supported by the script. We already mentioned most of the designs should fit to our support script, but there are some which won't be supported properly. That's why it's important to check your part you're using and the support script afterwards if it's really supported properly. If we have a closer look at this partial framework, you can see it seems to be quite okay in most of the areas, but there's one area which is not supported well. So it's an island. We will print into the nothing. Same thing can happen if you can't find a specific support script for the indication you're using. Maybe it's something totally free, maybe it's a special indication and there's no support script for it. In this case, you also will have to adjust, pretty sure we'll have to adjust the indicator supports manually. So, and in order to do this, you first, of course, will have to know how to get there. So, Robert, how can I find this?
All right, let me take over. So, the access to the support generator can be found in the machine environment of NetFab. Let me show you how to get there. So, first of all, this is something we already discussed a little bit in the previous webinars. Yeah. So, one thing you already noted was the function add support. With this function add support, we used only the support script until now. So today we will talk about the option create custom support. So this is highlighted here in the picture, as you can see. When you do this, please be aware of the fact that you still have to create a certain gap between the part and the platform. So please allow 3 millimeters as a gap between those, because otherwise not all settings from the support will apply. So more than 3 millimeters is not necessary, you just want to save time. Yeah. Less than that would be a little bit critical, because not all settings of the support script will apply to your part. All right, so this is where to find it. I think this is pretty straightforward. This is just 2-3 clicks from the main machine environment. All right.
So we will quickly, I think, just show it also live. Yes. So we will just load a part. In this case, we will just load the one which we have seen in the picture before, so the partial framework. We will center it, and now we're going to have a look at how to support it manually. So I will click on Add Support, as Robert said, create custom, and lift is already active, and perform this. So now I'm in the support generator, but how do I now add and adjust supports, and what's all the things about? Because you now can see a totally different window or totally different buttons than usually you can see in the normal NetFab main screen. So we will have a look at the most important one for now. Let me start with the Analysis tab. You can see it on the top right. I select Analysis, and you will now just see only visualizations of the complete supporting generator. So, for example, the first step is the cluster detection. This one is just automatically cluster detection, and you will have to fill in the minimum or the non-critical and the critical angle for this part. In another webinar, we showed you roundabout how these values can be set, but it's all depending on design, material, and thickness, for example. So it's all based on a little bit on your experience. So if we set this one up, what we will see underneath the part is red and yellow areas, and these are just showing the critical, the non-critical, this is the gray one, and the yellow, the area between the critical and non-critical. So just to visualization of what you have set in there. You can also set the automatic analyze, or you say, no, I don't want to automatically analyze it because I change the settings first and then I click on the button analyze downskins. So it's up to you. As I mentioned, there's no effect on the supports with this setting.
Yeah, that's really important.
Same is for the visual settings, the next one. No effects on the supports itself. It's just all about what you prefer to see. So you can say, I don't want to see the part at all because you already got supports and just want to adjust the supports. You can also say, I don't want to see the part properly or completely. I will see a transparent part. So it's a little bit better to see through where the supports are placed and so on. For example, you can also disable the platform. The most important in here for us is the anchor diameter. You can see it's already set on 0 here. Usually the standard is set, I think, on 2 millimeters, but just that you see what this is doing. Okay, let's do it like Robert will tell you later on how is it going. So I will just create an anchor here. You can't see anything because it's set on 0. If I set the anchor diameter higher, I can see, oh, there's a blue bubble now. So this won't be printed at all. This is just visualization again. And an anchor is just a start and ending point of one support. So we will show you how to create supports later. It's just important you know how to reduce the anchor diameter in order to see, for example, the connection point and the breaking point of the support itself if you're designing the support on your own. So we will set this back to 0 just for later on, and I will remove all anchors and entities. Robert will explain to you later.
Yes,
so,
we will come to that.
Yeah, so the last one is just the view settings, and I can set in here the cluster diameter for manually adjusting or manually adding a cluster, which I will show you later how to do it. In here you can change the diameter of it. Later on we will see directly what this is going to do with it. Okay, for now no questions. Little bit information is already now at your side, so we will continue with giving some more hints for you.
All right, so let me talk a little bit about executing a support script. There are 2 ways to perform this actually. So remember that this was previously done in the machine environment. So if you go back in the machine environment, this was just done with the add support and then using the support script. However, if you already work here in the support generator, you're still able to perform the support script in there. So what you do here is you have again 2 options. The first option would be on the upper tab, which is called support script in the upper right corner. You can see there's a drop-down menu. In this drop-down menu you can just select the desired support script you want to have. For example, that would be partial framework, and then you just press the button execute in the lower right corner, and then it will perform the support script. The second option would be you just use the button run support script in the right bottom corner here, and by clicking that you are able to see all the available scripts in your NetFab version. What you can see here is that a couple of those, or most of them, come with the rapidshape engine. And only one of them, which we just have this for testing purpose, was created by us. This is mentioned here as custom. Then again, you would just select the partial framework. So this is the default one we delivered with the engine. And then you just hit the button execute. You can still say, yes, I want to remove old support if there are already old supports in there. Or you can just disable this function, and then you would just add the support script to the existing supports you have already for this part. Again, you just hit execute, and this is it. Well, so these are the 2 ways. I just do not want to show the script here because actually our next step would be how to edit or to add a single support in there. Maybe one information at the end: any change you perform in the support generator, you have to apply at the end in order to go back to the machine environment. So therefore we have the button apply support also in the right corner, in the lower right corner, and this way you go back from the support generator to the machine environment. All right, so the next step would be, let's just talk about adding supports manually. What we have already seen. This can be quite difficult to do in the beginning because, let's say, the default settings in NetFab are not very super user-friendly, and there's a way to make this a little bit easier for the customer and for you guys. Yeah. So first thing we need to know is which button do I have to press in order to be able to add a new support, and this would be the create new bar button on top in the bar here. So what you do is you would just select the area you want, and you would perform in the default setting a double click. Let's see if I can manage it.
Well, you see this, you're struggling like I was before.
This can be quite difficult to do, and it will be the same for the customer. So basically what will happen is the time what I have used to perform my double click on my mouse is not quick enough, and therefore it is just creating an anchor and another anchor in the very same position, and therefore no actual support is created. What you can see is if you do this a little bit slower, it is just creating a support between two anchors, but as you can see on the picture, this is pointless because you are just creating a support on the surface of the part, but this is not connected to the platform. So what we have to do here is we have to go to the settings, but let me delete this first. About the deleting of the support, you would just go to select support. This is the button on the top left corner. You just highlight the support you have here. This is already selected because this is just one. So the lighter blue shade indicates you that this is the selected support. And then you just perform a right mouse click to get into the context menu. You go to remove selection, and this is it. If you are not sure that you have removed all the entities and anchors you might have added to the part, you can just perform a right mouse click somewhere in the picture, and as you can see, another context menu pops up, and there it would be remove all anchors and entities. And this way you can make sure that there's not an anchor and not a support in there. So what I mentioned earlier was we have to change the default settings. So the default settings is to perform a double click to add a support. Now, in order to change that, we go to the settings button on top, again on settings, and there we just scroll down all the way until we have found the support module in here, this one. And what you see here is there's another option for the mouse action for bar support, and as I mentioned, default settings double click. Please select the single click and save. And now, as soon as I hit the create new bar button again, I just have to make a single click, and as you can see, it will just perform really nice and easy. So we would definitely recommend that you are working with this tool, with the single click. It makes life so much easier.
Definitely.
All right. So what we can see here now is that these support settings are a default version. You can see there's a breaking point. Also, we have right angle on the part between part and the support itself. Maybe not the ideal solution, but it is a way to start. So now let me talk a little bit about editing supports. So let's see what we can do here. Let's say we just want to perform a change on a single support. What you do is you just go to the Edit tab on top here. And what you do here is, just for the purpose of the webinar, I would say we make a drastic change here.
Yes.
So let's say we have a very a big width on the platform. So this is 2 millimeters, so you can immediately see what's going on. And let's say I want to apply the changes from this support to all the others, or the new ones which I want to create. This way you have to actually create a new default setting. So let's see what we got here. We got in the drop-down menu just one setting, set one. This is the default one, which we just used. Let's go to the Add button over there. And again, for the purpose of training, I just call it Test Set. Well, and in this test set, we have to save the changes first before we do anything else. So what I do is I just go to the Edit button over there, and then I save selection in this just created test style. And what we can do now is you just highlight all the other supports. Again, we go back to select support. And what you do here is you can either select them manually by just clicking on them and then hold the control button on your keyboard and just selecting all of them. Or what you can also do is you can just create a frame around all of these, and then you just go back to the edit button over there and you say I want to load the test set to this selection. Let's see what we got here. Perfect, so this is what we want to have. In addition to that, if you just want to create another bar, you will see that it is already using the latest set. So this is really nice and a handy tool,
yes, quite
for using the support generator. All right, now we're just running really quick through all these topics. I can see that there's no question so far about this. I think it's pretty straightforward for now, but let us know if you have any particular question. Again, this is something where you have to discover yourself a little bit. So work with NetFab support generator, and there's definitely a learning curve to that. We won't go into all these settings. What you see here on the right hand side is if I open up all the settings here, this is really an in-depth webinar which we would have done again. So we would just refer to the Autodesk NetFab documentation what you find in the web. So just go to Google search and then enter Autodesk NetFab support generator, and there you will find a lot of information in there which will be quite helpful. All right. So if there's no question, I think we can proceed.
Maybe also for the last topic, maybe you're asking yourself, why do I have to create a new set? So Robert mentioned there's always the predefined set, the set 1, and if you just click on the settings button, you can see we cannot save anything in this set. This means you try to save it, but you can't, so you also can't write some information from this set to another one, because this will always be the default one. That's the reason why we have to create a new one, just for your information, why maybe you were wondering already. So, but let's go back to the next slide. It's all about the cluster function. So as I mentioned in the beginning, the automatic detection is done in the analysis, which is then showing you the red and yellow areas according to the things you have entered, or the values you have entered in the critical, non-critical angle and minimal area. But it's also possible to select or mark a cluster manually. So in case you just want to have a certain area supported, you can just mark this area wherever you whatever you want, or whatever you like to have it. So you select the mark cluster manually on top here in NetFab. And as you can see, the automatic analysis is just gone. So there's no automatic cluster detection anymore, because now I want to do it manually. As I mentioned, this is the circle brush which will appear, and you can change the size in the analysis tab. So on the right side you can see mark cluster diameter, and it will change it. Or you use the shortcut and you just push and hold Control and use the mouse wheel to change the size. So recommendation is don't make it too big, as I said, otherwise you might have got some struggles with the calculation power of your PC. So, but in order just to see what's going on, if I now want to mark some area, some cluster, I will have to press and hold the mouse button, the left one, to highlight it. So I just highlight this area, and you can see now this area is my cluster which I defined. Of course, it might be needed that I delete some areas again. Also use Control again. So Control is a mighty button here. Control, press and hold it, and just use the left mouse button again to erase it. So now I'm erasing it, calculating 2 new clusters. So this is how I can manipulate manually the cluster areas. Of course, I can also just click once and I will have a circular cluster detected, or circular cluster manually created, but most likely will mark a whole area. So what is now the purpose of this manual cluster? I can see there's a cluster, but what can I do now? So the easiest way to do something with a cluster is do a right click with the mouse on it. And you can see now, oh, there's some actions I can do. First is create bar support on cluster, but this is just creating a standard bar support. So no special action, no special support script. So the best option now is to say call an action on the cluster. If I open this, we can see the different support scripts in here, which are, as Robert mentioned, in the engine, and one of them is this one, the framework, is also done custom made in here. So as you can see, I can only execute the actions inside of a script and not the script itself. So it's just important that you know, if you select a script and the execute button is grayed out, that's normal. You only can execute the actions inside, because the script is always applicable for the full part and not only for a special manual cluster. So, but I can now select whatever I want, for example, the partial framework, standard one, and execute it. Of course, it's just a small cluster, so I can't see much supports right now, but it was just creating the supports according to the script we were using. And I think that's all we need to know for the manual cluster at the moment. And there's still no questions for now.
I'm quite surprised, actually.
So this is really good. Maybe you all understood already what we told you, or you're just overflowing with all the information and you still have to process it. So still, let's head over to the Q&A. I think now you need a lot of time to get what we really told you. So as Robert mentioned, this is really learning by doing.
Well, yes, and we also should add the information that this is purely for advanced users. So if you give this information to a user who's just started to print with our machines, let's say on day 2, you just provide him all this information, that will be quite a lot for him to digest. So I guess it would be much better to just tell the customer straight away, hey, keep on using the support scripts, and for advanced users, yes, we have some more options here. Something to play around and to add some supports if necessary, if a job fails. But this is definitely not something for a new customer or somebody who's just starting with a digital process in his lab.
Yeah. Yes. So usually we give like 2 or 3 days of training, and while the customers are here on spot, for example, they do a lot of supporting different models, using scripts, using manual support, because you really have to invest a lot of time.
Right, yeah.
This to get to know this.
All about geometry of your parts, understanding how the process of the printer works. Yeah. And this is something we would just like to share with you guys. So for first level or for other advanced users, it's great to have. It's a nice tool. Then again, the reason why this is a little bit more complicated from the user interface is that this is based on the NetFab framework. So this is not something which is included in the rapidshape engine. We just put our settings in there to just add all the support scripts, which are helpful and necessary. But the framework and all these user interface, what you see here, it comes ultimately from Autodesk and NetFab.
Yeah. So, and while saying it comes from Autodesk, I think it's again good to mention, please, if you want to have further information, how to design the support, how to set up a support script, we recommend using the Autodesk website. There's a lot of information already about supports and support scripts, so if you're interested, just go there and have a look. It's really helpful.
Okay, still no question. I'm quite surprised. This morning it was at least a little bit more, but maybe the webinar was straightforward. It was so to the point. So let's hope you just have no questions and it's something you understand really well. Okay.
Yeah, so we still got some more minutes left. So if you want to ask us some question, do not hesitate.
Maybe this is also the time to mention that for the following webinars, not this week, but from the following week on, we would also like to get a little bit more input from your side. Is there maybe a troubleshooting topic which you would like to discuss? Please share it with us. So this way we can optimize our webinars and that we can design the webinars in a way that this is really about your needs, about your topics you want to discuss. So yeah, please let us know if you have any input. We really appreciate your help with that, and we can only make it better with your help.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. All right, I think there's still no questions, so
so let's
close the webinar.
Close this up for today. So thank you very much for joining. If you still have got some questions, like after an hour, because you now just get all to info, to process the information because it was so much, just let us know in the service directly. So write us an email, contact us anyhow, you know, also the WhatsApp number, so just let us know. Okay, Young is writing something. NetFab 219 is already outdated.
Yes. So first of all, thank you, Pablo, for your feedback, and for Young. Yes. So this is a webinar about the latest version for NetFab. So
yes.
NetFab 2020. Yes, we had some bugs, or NetFab had some bugs in 2019 version, but this is actually solved. But I can see that Marcel has a question. So let's wait for that.
Okay. Yes. So remember, we've got our speakers on mute, so we cannot hear you, because if we put it on unmute, then there might be some echoes, and this is what we want to avoid. So just let us know in the chat and we can answer directly.
Right.
Or if somebody else wants to write it for Marcel, that's also fine.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. Is there a protocol for denture base? Now that is a very good question. So at the moment, no, we do not have a support script for denture base at the moment. I'm quite sure as soon as this is, if the lab team and the validation team is putting more effort into this, we will see in the future a dental base support script. At the moment, we do not have this, and we also have, at least I do not have an information about timeline.
No, not yet.
Let's figure it out. We will try to get an answer on that and try to answer it in one of the next webinars. But thank you for the question. At the moment, sorry, we do not have a denture base support script. All right. Is there anything else you want to ask and to discuss here in this webinar? Yeah. Thank you, Marcel, for the question. Yes, Andre, this is very good to say. Actually, it just tackles the question from Marcel again. So yes, obviously we do want to have a support script for every single indication what we can offer for the system. We are working constantly on improving the support scripts, and I'm quite sure we will see more support scripts in the future. At the moment, it would just these are just the ones you can see in the engine. But we try to push things forward.
So it's kind of a lot of work. That's what we know, because you have got, like we said, one main design, but each design can differ a little bit. And in order to get a proper support script, we will have to analyze a lot of different designs for one indication and then bring out a proper support script. But we will do our best, I think, and we will also mention this once again, because now we got the question. So we will mention this, and let's see when we can deliver more of these support scripts for you.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you can imagine every material has different mechanical specs, different viscosity, and therefore every material needs a specific support script. So the lab team really spends a lot of time into creating a script. We are talking about weeks and weeks of testing. So this is not something you can just do in a day or two. But yes, we would definitely like to add more of these in the future to cover all of the available indications. All right. If there is no more question, we would like to thank you.
Start with the stronger materials, is Andre mentioning.
Okay, thank you, Andre.
Let's see what the lab will tell us.
Let's see what we can do. Okay.
So then at the end, we will like to say also thank you guys. Thank you for joining again. Thank you for your questions and keeping us a little bit more interested also in this webinar, because this is making things better if we got some interaction going on in here.
Yes, so much. Yeah,
so as usual, we will have a following webinar. So it will be tomorrow, and the webinar of tomorrow is gonna be about printing. Sorry, now I did it wrong myself. So it's a printer troubleshooting. Last time we did the printing troubleshooting. So what's happening after a print job? Why is the print job failing, and so on? So how does the print result look like? Now we're gonna show you some basic issues, or what we figured out is basic issue with the printer itself. So for example, starting a print job and there's some issues, some messages telling you, oh, there's something wrong. This is what we're gonna have a look in tomorrow, and we would be really happy if you join us.
Yeah, stay
again.
tuned.
Yeah, so as usual, I can just say at the end, we will see you tomorrow, and so stay safe and stay three-dimensional.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.